guys, welcome to Cook to Nourish. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to make chocolate chip cookie pie, and this is the clean version. Several years ago, I had recorded a video for chocolate chip cookie pie, which is doing fairly well, and that time I wasn't really watching my diet and things like that. However, it was on my list for a long time to make a clean version of this pie, and I finally made this. So this is gluten-free, dairy-free, as well as refined sugar-free. And you could also make it grain-free by using cassava flour instead of the gluten-free flour mix, and I'll tell you that in my recipe. And this has eggs, so it is not AIP. However, as you know, eggs is a very first reintroduction that you could do, and many people do okay with that. So if you are okay with eggs, you could use cassava flour and eggs and make this an AIP version. I did try this recipe using gelatin egg instead of egg because I personally cannot tolerate eggs. However, the version with the cassava flour and gelatin is a little bit more of a crumbly pie. So I just wanted to show you that. I tried to make many pies with those, and it is tasty, but it is a little bit crumbly. So it's not the same texture as this one. This one now, I baked an entire pie, and I actually, this was a couple days ago. So now when you keep it at room temperature, it solidifies a little bit, and then it's best to warm it before having. So here I have this at room temperature now, so it's not very soft. However, when you warm it, it will be like really ooey gooey and like the perfect texture. And my kids approve this version as well. So there you go.
So to begin with, we'll start with the flour. I'm using here gluten-free flour mix, which is King Arthur blend, measure for measure. So that's the one that I use for just a gluten-free version for my family. But for myself, if I'm making it, then I use cassava flour. Now I use 1 cup of gluten-free flour mix, but I use 3/4 cup of cassava flour. So the ratio is different. If you're going to be substituting cassava flour instead of this, you'll have to use less of it. Next, we need baking soda. I have 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda that I'm using. And next we need like a little bit of salt, a little bit more than a pinch. So I would say about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt. And we just mix all these together really well. So it's like basically mixing all the dry ingredients first. And you don't necessarily need to use a sieve, but you could use it if you like. But, just like a quick rough mix using a spatula is good. And then later on, we are going to use the mixer anyway. So now we are going to add sugar here. So I'm using total of 3/4 cup of coconut sugar. Now, actually it's great that because in this recipe I have, reduced the amount of sugar. By using coconut sugar, I actually need less sugar in this recipe. So I'm only using 3/4 cup. Whereas my original recipe with, the all-purpose flour had like I think 1.5 cups of sugar. So next, for the fat, I'm using palm shortening here that I had softened to room temperature. So as you can see, it's like really soft texture, and I'm getting 1/2 cup of that in my measuring cup, up to the top. So that is, you could also use coconut oil that has been softened. It doesn't have to be melted, but just softened so you can measure it properly. And so you can use even coconut oil in this recipe. Using palm shortening gives it a little bit better texture, I think, but you could use coconut oil too, totally. And next we're going to add some vanilla extract. So 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And 1 egg. So as I told you before, this recipe uses eggs. So that's why It's not AIP. If you wanted to make it AIP, what you could do is use a gelatin egg instead of one egg here. And gelatin egg is actually 1 tablespoon of gelatin and 3 tablespoons of water. So now then use an electric blender or mixer to, kind of whip the butter and the sugar, the palm shortening and the sugar together, so till you get like a creamy, fluffy kind of texture. It takes about, I would say, 3 to 4 minutes for that to happen fairly quickly. And next we'll, just mix the dry ingredients to this. So it's really a simple recipe. You can also use a stand mixer for, this. But, I just like, because it's like a fairly small quantity, I like to just use my electric mixer. But yeah, you could use your stand mixer. And now you mix the flour in divided portions. So I just added about a quarter cup or so. This is a flour mixture that we had already mixed together with the baking soda and salt. So just keep adding that here. Now, as you keep adding the flour, this mixture is going to get thicker and thicker. And at one point, then we are just going to shut the mixer off and just stir it using a spoon. And also, make sure initially the speed is very low, because otherwise you'll have flour all over yourself. So be careful about that. You would actually totally whip this recipe without an electric mixer. You could just use a spoon and do that. You'll get some arm workout, but that's good, right? Yeah, so see, it's like now become really thick, and I'm just mixing it with a spoon to make sure all the white flour, right, is incorporated into it, so that there's nothing dry. And now at this stage you could actually add the half of the chocolate chips, but I kind of forgot. So now I have a greased baking pie dish, actually, which is like an 8-inch pie dish. You could also use a glass one, and then just spread the dough around. And then I'm going to add the chocolate chips. So for some of the chocolate chips, this is about half a cup of chocolate chips. So I'm going to add half of that. That is about a quarter first, so that it kind of, mixes with all the dough. So it goes like even in the bottom of the pie versus, just being on the top. So I'm kind of just mixing it well. And so this part, as I was telling you, you could have actually mixed this using a spoon also in your bowl, first, but I just chose to do it this way. And this way I'm just again massaging it into the dough so that it's mixed all the way inside. And then on the top you can add just the rest of the chocolate chips on the top. And these are, by the way, dairy-free chocolate chips. And I'll place a link in my recipe as well as in the description box for these. And if you're trying to make an AIP version, you could totally use the carob chocolate recipe that I have posted before. Now, baked at 375 for about 8 to 10 minutes. Now see, this is what you want. You want the crust to be really golden brown, while the center is really soft. See, I'll show you how how the center is really soft and gooey here. Just the kind that you want. So this pie is best served when it's warm, okay? So you can make the dough and keep, and then just warm it before serving. And if you've already baked the pie, every time just, before you serve, just stick it in the microwave for a few seconds to make it gooey and soft. Hope you try this recipe and like it. Please let me know in the comments how you like this. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.